There's two things that I want to talk about that kind of bothers me. It doesn't really bother me because I'm pretty open minded, so I'm very accepting when it comes to things. So a lot of times I understand that we're kind of all the same. We're just humans. We're living on this planet. We're all confused. We don't really know what we want. We don't really know what we like, and we're just trying to like survive. I get it. So we're pretty all the same. So I try to have that outlook and not be angry at people. But there's certain things, because I'm human, there's certain things I don't like that really rubs me the wrong way. And I want to talk about two of those things. And the reason why I don't like them, because they hypocritical. And with this political climate right now in politics, there's all this hypocrisy going on. I see how bad it is. I see how wicked and evil hypocrisy is. It's just a really bad thing. And when it's in politics, I could get that because politicians are evil. We know there's no secret. They're evil politicians, and they lie and they manipulate and so on and so forth. We all know that. We're accustomed to politicians just being not really good people. And that goes for the left and the right. The right and the left. It goes for both parties and stuff. So I understand the hypocrisy in politics. I mean, it's really polarized with Trump. Like he just took it to a different level. But it's there nonetheless. And so I get that. I get why the hypocrisy is in politics. But and there's other two things I want to talk about. There's this pervasive hypocritical thing, going on, which I don't like, because I think it's unfair, and that's what I want to talk about. So the first thing is, what's the deal with all these skinny white suburban girls making all these Instagram, TikTok videos and dressing up gothic and going to the fucking goth clubs and taking over basically the goth scene? The goth scene and the punk scene and the hippie scene is all been taken over by these people. And these people didn't even have a platform 20 years ago. These people were hidden in the gated communities in Malibu and California and Santa Barbara, and that was their lives. All they had was their peers and their affluent families in which they grew up in. But somehow these people crept in through the back door to the goth subculture via TikTok, via Instagram, via Facebook, and pretty much took over alternative culture. And what bothers me about that the most is these people, these girls, these skinny, white girls that come from these rich upper middle class families. Those were the mean girls in high school. That's the thing that's really crazy. They were the mean girls. Those were the girls that made fun of the chubby queer girl. They made fun of the gay guy. They made fun of the weird goth alternative girl that didn't talk to anyone. So those are the Molly Ringwalds of high school, pretty much and stuff. And now they all alternative and now they all progressive because TikTok allowed them to go to Hot Topic and buy clothes and stand in a room and make these weird videos and put they put their leg up in the air. They don't know why they do that. It doesn't make their outfit look any better, but they do that nonetheless and stuff. That pose where they go like that with their leg and shit. And then they everywhere now. And now they come to the clubs. You go to the clubs now, like 9 out of 10 goth girls are those people, with the cameras taking selfies because they want to post it on TikTok and everything. And you know what? I'm not saying young people, I get it. You're young, you want to be fashionable, you want to adapt the goth aesthetic, and you want to go to the club and you want to go with your girlfriends. I get that. I'm not saying people can't do that and enjoy themselves. And I do appreciate them dressing up because I remember like a long time ago, I was like, man, I wish people dressed up more to the golf clubs and just showed up dressed up. Like there was a time when people just wasn't dressing up anymore, like probably 20 years ago or something like that. So I kind of appreciate them dressing up and going to the club and just keeping the scene alive. So I'm not saying that they should stop doing that, but it kind of bothers me because those people are not alternative people, but they mingling with alternative people and they want to be around alternative people and they want to like, act. But and also another thing that bothers me about that is that a lot of times if you see how these people dance, they actually make fun of goth people. So when they deal with their group of friends, their girlfriend, they were wearing all black and they wear black lipstick and they have their face caked with powder and everything and they look all like spooky and everything, and then they dance. And if you look at how they interact with their friends, look at what they're actually doing. They're actually making fun of gothic people. So they dance and they're doing this creepy dance, but really they're actually mocking goth. They saying, look, I'm in a goth club and I'm dancing like a weirdo. Look how weird I look and and everything. And it's pretty fucked up, man. And I think any true goth person should be offended by that, and everything. And it's just offensive, and because these are the people who were the mean girls in high school. They made fun of people like me, people who are, and people never made fun of me because I used to fight when I was in high school and so I didn't take shit from anyone. But the whole point that I'm saying is, other people who don't fight, who don't stand up for themselves, these people are the people who are mocking them and making fun of them. And now those very people don't have a platform anymore because the platform is dominated by these suburban, beautiful, skinny white. And they're all skinny, fucking white girls, and they all come from wealthy families. These people could do anything they want. They could prosper anywhere. They could be affluent anywhere because they come from money. They have money. They come from gated community. They're not disenfranchised. They're not marginalized people. So they have a platform already, but they choose to creep in, to go into the back door of the alternative world to take it over. And I just think that's really, really fucked up and everything. But you know why they do that? You know how they started doing that, which is even more fucked up, is that their fucking frat boyfriends or their like preppy boyfriends have a stripper fetish, and these guys, they think goth girls are strippers. They do. They think that. They think goth girl. If you go into the mind of these guys, these frat boys, these preppy guys, they think that goth girls are strippers. When they see a goth girl dressed with fishnets, that they thinking slut or they thinking stripper or prostitute. So they have a fetish for that. And so when these girls realize that all the guys who they think are hot are into these girls, then they started dressing like that. For their boyfriend could be like, wow, you're fucking hot. I got a hot stripper girl, when she's really just a normal preppy girl. And so, and so that's how this whole thing started. And that's why when you go to the club, and don't take my word for it, but go to the club and see. You see a really beautiful, skinny, white goth girl just wearing powder face and wearing makeup, and she's dancing. And look at the guy she's hanging out with. She's not hanging out with a goth guy. She's hanging out with a normal fucking guy that has a baseball cap. Well, I'm wearing a baseball cap, but this is a cool baseball cap because it says New York on it and stuff. And I'm from New York. But he's wearing a baseball cap. He's wearing it to the front. He's wearing a white t-shirt. He's wearing Nike sneakers. And he's just a normal, preppy white guy. And he's with a really hot, beautiful goth girl. And she's not a goth girl. That's why she's dating that guy. If she was a true goth girl, she'd be dating a fucking goth guy. But she's with him because she's a normal girl and she's just cosplay, because it's all cosplay. That's all it is cosplay, And the reason why it bothers me, you could be cosplay, there's nothing wrong with cosplay, but what bothers me is these girls, when they're in high school, they made fun of true cosplay people. They made fun of those people, they picked on them, they tortured those people in high school. But like now they're all cosplay now because of their boyfriend with his stripper fetish, wants his girl to turn him on, and she wants to turn him on, so she's going and she's dressing like that. It's pretty fucked up, and that's what bothers me about that whole shit, and you see it like everywhere, it's in every club. And I do appreciate, like I said, I do appreciate these people dressing up, and it's better having people dressed up and just having two preppy couples showing up at the golf club. At least one of them is dressed up, and that's more inspiring to dance, So I'm not saying that they shouldn't go to the club and dress up, but I'm just saying that's a hypocrisy because these people are not alternative people. I'm an alternative person. I've been an alternative person my whole life. Ever since I was like 10 years old, I've been like an alternative person. I've been part of a subculture ever since I was a child. bio and everything. And I went through so much shit my whole entire. I almost got killed growing up in New York. 'Cause I grew up in the '80s and shit. I almost got killed in New York. Being a weirdo and being an alternative person and everything. And these people just come out of the woodwork and just have the money to shop at Hot Topic and buy all the $70 or Zoomy. That store Zoomy, I love that store by the way. But it's kind of like Hot Topic. It's a better version of Hot Topic, but they have all these like expensive clothes that are like $80 for a pair of pants. They can afford like a whole wardrobe of clothes because they have money and everything. And they just make a TikTok video and they think they're goth and they go to the club and then they have their boyfriends with the stripper fetish following them around. And it's just kind of in a way fucked up and so. But I do appreciate people dressing up and everything. And this video is kind of a silly video. It's not meant to be too serious and everything. But I just don't like the hypocrisy, because these people, I remember in the '80s, preppy people was so disgusted by alternative people. It's almost like alternative people were people with a fucking disease. I'm gonna keep it so real, but in the '80s, a lot of people are not old enough to remember, but in the '80s, there was these preppy people, yuppie preppy people, looked and view alternative people as disgusting. They looked at them as animals. That's how they looked at them, and that's how they treated them. And then this is why the subculture was so strong and so powerful in the '80s, the underground subculture of the goth or the punk, or even the underground hippie movement too and stuff, the underground. And that was all taken over by these same type of people. And I'll tell you a story. Like, there's this place that I go to every once in a while. I don't go that much, but it's called Rhythm Sanctuary, and it's a hippie place. And like something like 200 people go to this place, and it's a static dance, and they dance like in a circle. Like 200 people. It's beautiful, and they have all these religious altars and stuff like that, or goddess altars and Buddha altars and stuff. It's pretty beautiful. And the lady that does it, she's been doing it for like 18 years, and she's like this hippie witch, Wiccan, pagan lady named Ava, who I know for like since Boulder. I know her since the '90s in Boulder. She's an old friend of mine, but she started this a long time ago. And sometimes I go and dance, and this one time there was this girl, because at the end they tell their testimony and they talk about what inspired them to dance and so on and forth. So every girl that would talk, she was like, "Oh, I felt like I was getting my weirdness out, and I was in this weird space with all these weird people dancing." And then I was like, dude, you're like offending everyone, because there's a lot of people who are queer and weird. They go there and dance, and you're saying you're having a good time because you're dancing with weird people, And so when she said, the lady that does it, she goes, "Oh, you talk about acceptance and everything, but yet you calling everyone weird." And so the whole point that I'm trying to make is this is the hippie movement. This is the hippie scene. So in the hippie scene is that same shit where you have these skinny, beautiful white girls that come from rich families, and they go to this hippie thing and they dancing with these hippie people, and then they mocking them and putting them and saying, "Oh, I had a great time because I was dancing with weird people," instead of saying I was transformed by these people who obviously are different and everything, and it makes me feel like maybe I accept people who are different, instead of saying I had a great time dancing with all these weird people. But it's the same thing that I'm saying. So in every subculture you have like these people who are coming in, who are taking over, who are like these yuppie people who are like rich white kids, come from these powerful rich white families, that they can do anything they want. They can have any platform that they desire, but they choose the alternative, subcultures. And I think that that's hypocrisy, because they still make fun of us. They still push us to the margins of society, and push us out of to society, and to the margins and stuff, and they continue to do that even though they enjoying us and they enjoying our subculture. They still doing that, and I think that's fucked up. You know what I'm saying? So that's the one thing that bothers me, because these people wreck subculture. There's basically no subcultures in America anymore because of these TikTok rich white people. You know what I'm saying? These skinny white girls. Anyhow, that's one thing. So the other thing that I just talked about, that I want to talk about, this bothers me probably more than that, is, and I take it really personal and stuff, because it's reflective of my life or what I've been going through as a person just on the autistic spectrum, a person that's neurodivergent. So where did all these fucking autistic people came from? They everywhere now. Maybe it's just the algorithm, I don't know, but I know that everywhere I look online, there's people claiming to be autistic. Not only that, every time I go to do open mics, I always meet girls all the time because I do a sing and stuff, and girls always come to me, "Hey, I love the way you sing," or whatever, and they talk to me, and they always tell me they're autistic. Like I yet to meet a girl at an open mic that didn't tell me that they was autistic. I'm like, not all these people are autistic. I remember back in the 80s, you rarely ran across an autistic person. I would run into an autistic person once every 3 years. Seriously. You will see low functioning autistic people who are more on the lower end of the spectrum. Yeah, those people more prevalent. You see them here and there. But high functioning autistic, really, you rarely ran across those people. But now everyone's autistic? Really? Everyone's autistic. All those people are autistic. I don't think so and everything. And I know that's not true for the simple fact as I see the calling cards of an autistic person and how they are and the things that you need really to just prove that you are an autistic person. These people don't have, and these people are not even clever enough to hide that. But these people, they talk about certain ways they communicate with people and how they are, and it's the very opposite of how autistic people communicate. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you an example. Like autistic people, they say, okay, so autistic people need support. They need support from the neurotypical world, the world of normality, the normal world. Needs to accept autistic people because autistic people feel like they don't belong to the broader world. They feel like they're like separate from the world, and that's one of the biggest pervasive issues that autistic people have. And so even if you have a support system, you don't believe that support system to be true or to be for you, that support, because you can't process that information because you don't feel that and you feel inadequate continuously. You have this feeling, this pervasive feeling of inadequacy constantly. So even if someone loves you and someone supports you and someone's there for you and someone wants to help you, you don't know how to receive that information. And that's one of the stepping stones of autism is that. But when you have people who are making these video blogs and they're telling you, "Oh my God, I'm so glad my mom supports me, my dad supports me, I have this great network of people," I'm like, really? How did you comprehend that? Because most autistic people have a comprehension disorder. They won't even be able to comprehend that they're actually getting support from people. So how are you able to explain that you're getting support from people? And I know you can argue the point that it's a spectrum and everyone's different. It depends on what part of the spectrum you are, and I get that. But for the most part, most of it, most autistic people feel like a fish out of water no matter what. So getting support from people doesn't change the way an autistic person feels about themselves. You know what I'm saying? So when people making these video blogs, I'm looking at these video blogs, I'm saying, I like the way you talk. I like all the things you're saying, but how can you explain to me? How can you teach me to have an accepting heart, like your heart, how you accept your family and accept the fact that they are giving you something and you're being supported by these people? How do you know that? Explain to me how you're able to know that when cognitively autistic people just don't know that, They just don't. And another thing is emotions. Like autistic people is all about displaced emotions and everything. And so when you have people who are making video blogs and their emotions are being pinpointed in one direction, that's another sign that that's not prevalent of a person is autistic. Autistic persons, their emotions are all over the place. It's like it's kind of like a roller coaster, like up and down, and they're pretty much in the, black or white. They're not in the gray, they're either black or white and stuff. And that's just is a tumultuous existence with their emotions and everything. And then you have these people who are autistic and they don't ever talk about their emotions. They talk about all these other, and then they mention 3 or 4 things. They mention they can't make eye contact. They mention that they take things literal. Like they mention these 3 things that is like just kind of like these little tiny pervasive things that autistic people do, but it's not really the stepping stone of what an autistic person goes through. It's just these little behavioral patterns, for lack of a better word, that they exhibit, if you will, and that's what they talk about when they do their video blogs. They talk about those street things. To go, well, I can't make eye contact, and I'm taking things literal. And I agree, yeah, but that's everyone goes through that. Even normal people go through that. That doesn't really justify you as an autistic person. But when I know that they're not truly autistic people, if they mention those things, and every time when I look, I go, okay, now they're gonna mention that they don't make eye contact, and then they do it, and I go, oh, now they're gonna mention that they take things literal, then they say it, then I go, see, they just is kind of so. Basically, what I'm saying is that these people are not autistic, and right now, autism is a really trendy thing right now, and also these people come, they're the same people who are these same girls. Like all these videos, you rarely see guys make autistic videos. There's all these like skinny, pretty white girls making autistic videos, but they are the same girls, like those goth girls that I was talking about, the mean girls. Those are the same girls, and that's why whenever they talk about being diagnosed, they don't talk about being diagnosed when they were children. They talk about being diagnosed when they were 23 or 24, and then a lot of times they self-diagnose themselves and everything, and so then they realize, they go, oh, well, I'm autistic, and they make all the autistic videos. I was diagnosed when I was 10 years old, when I was a child, and I think even earlier than that I was diagnosed, and I had a second diagnosis when I was like 13. Then I had another one when I was 18, but so these people, they get newly diagnosed and everything, and then they make video about, and these people, these rich, like skinny white girls, they like missing love or something from their family members, from their parents, because their parents have money and everything, and they probably give them money, but they don't give them love. They don't give them support, affectionate support and everything. So these people want attention. So a good way to get attention is by claiming that they have this soft pathology, and the reason why I refer autism, high functional autism, as a soft pathology, because if you think about the symptoms and the hallmark of this like high functional autism, it's really on the surface, it's really not that bad. If people be like, oh, she's just cocky and weird and nerdy, and that's kind of the attitude people take towards high functional autism, but they don't take that attitude when they're referring to low functional autism. People hate low functional autistic people. You know why? Because it makes people feel uncomfortable. And people don't want to see women or men that have children that are low function. I mean, the ones that you see screaming in the street, running over, doing all these weird things and everything. People don't, I don't mind, because I've been around that, but people don't like that. It makes people uncomfortable. People don't think that's cute. People don't think that's, okay to be, people don't think that that's interesting, but it's still autism. But high functioning autism, especially if you're a pretty, skinny, white, blonde girl, then it's cute. And you're like, oh, you're not that bad. You're just socially awkward. And then they always say that. In all their video blogs, they just go, oh, I'm just socially awkward. I'm just like really weird. I go, no, you're not. You're like a beautiful girl that looks like a fucking model that is going to go to probably an Ivy League college and get a great degree somewhere and everything, but you're making this video that that you're socially awkward and everything, and people don't seem to understand social awkwardness is fucking painful. And that's the thing that really fucking bothers me, man. That people, they use that all the time on when they explaining their autism. They always say, "I'm socially awkward." I'm like, dude, you don't even know what socially awkward. You know what that is? What socially awkwardness is? It's when you feel so inadequate and you feel like you're like this weird fucking person and no one gets, no one understands you. And when people finally talk to you, you don't understand anything they're saying because you take such a long time to process the information. That makes you feel more stupider, or it makes you feel more like you're inadequate because you can't even, really connect with people and everything. It's a painful feeling. So the social awkwardness is not a good thing. It's not fucking cute, and these people think it's cute. You never see a 60 or 70-year-old autistic guy or woman or whatever saying he's socially awkward because it just, you wouldn't see it, And if you did see it, if someone said, oh, I'm socially awkward, and they were like 60 years old, you won't think that's cute. You think, why are you saying that? That's like, makes me cringe when a old person say, older person says that. The whole point that I'm trying to say that with these people is all about being cute. It's all about, standing out and having people have sympathy. Like they're obsessed with sympathy and they want sympathy because they didn't get sympathy from their parents or even from their peers, because they come from the superficial world. We know that world is superficial. We know that affluent, rich, white world is fucking superficial. And I'm not saying all of it. I'm sure there's good people in that world, and just like there's good people and bad people in the poor world, whatever the case may be. But we know for the most part it's a superficial world. We know it's all based on money. It's all based on affluent. It's all based on a certain community, a separatist community that's not part of the broader society. We all know that. And these people crave sympathy. These people crave people looking at them as being special. So they sneak in the back door of autism and go, well, this is kind of a soft pathology, which is not as bad. I could still be a hot, skinny white girl, and have guys be attracted to me because I just have this thing, this really not that bad. It's kind of cute. It just means that I'm socially awkward, and socially awkward is so cute, and it's not fucking cute because I've been dealing with social awkwardness my whole fucking life, man, and it's fucking painful, man. To the point where I just accept the pain, and it comes and it goes, it comes and goes and stuff, and everything. And a lot of times I get to the point where I just it's a Buddhist technique, but I just envision my brain. I envision a broom. You could do this and you sweep your brain. You ever done that? It's a Buddhist thing and stuff. I learned it from a Buddhist book, but you just like sweep all the thoughts in your brain. Because a lot of times when you having the social awkward thing, it's because you're thinking too much. You're thinking that you look weird. You're thinking that you said the wrong thing. You're thinking, I don't really belong at this club, or I don't really belong. Or sometimes when people are talking to you, you're feeling like you're not really connecting to them, or you're not really listening to them because it's hard for you to process the information because the lights are really bright and there's smells all around. The smells different, and someone's in your face talking to you and they want you to pay attention to them, but you can't pay attention to them. And so that develops this feeling of weirdness, awkwardness, and it makes you and it's kind of painful. So you have to like walk away, step away, and self-evaluate the whole situation, deregulate. Sometimes people have to go outside. Sometimes people have to sit down and do this ticking, stimming. Stimming is when you go like this. You do that. When you do that, it self-regulates your emotions, and then you calm down, and you could go back and everything. But that's a process people go through. That's something I've been going through my whole entire life. And everything. And when I see these people, I'm just socially awkward. I'm like, dude, you're like, dude, are you feeling pain? And I'm not saying these people are liars. I'm saying these people are full of shit, for the most part and stuff. And I can see it too. And another thing that bothers me, then I'll end with this last thing. Another thing that bothers me is then it's the same fucking people, the same skinny suburban fucking girls and shit. These comedians, that's like this big trend in the comic world right now of these like really beautiful blonde, really super hot redhead girls that are all calling themselves autistic, and they doing these stand-ups, but their whole stand-up bit is all about making fun of autistic people, and it's kind of like it's fucked up because it reminds me of like that episode of Seinfeld when the guy converted to Judaism because he wanted to make jokes about Jewish people, and it offended Jerry Seinfeld because Jerry Seinfeld is a Jew. It's kind of like the same shit like that. Like, I'm an autistic person and I'm not offended because these people are pretending to fucking be autistic to make jokes about fucking autistic people, and yet they doing the same thing they did when they were fucking in high school, making fun of the fucking weirdo, making fun of the queer, making fun of the gay person, making fun of the weird autistic Puerto Rican guy from New York City and stuff, the breakdancer, and it fucking bothers me because I can see so clear I could see that shit a mile away. I'm going, you're fucking making fun of me, but you're doing it via you pretending to be autistic. By you saying, well, it's okay because I'm autistic, so I can make fun of an autistic person. Just like that guy and on Seinfeld, they said I can make fun of Jewish people because I'm a Jew, and Jerry's like, "No, you converted to Judaism just for the jokes." Remember that episode? That's a classic episode, but it's the same shit. I'm like, dude, you converted to being autistic just because you could make fun of autistic person because underneath your autism, you a fucking mean girl. They're still making fun of the weirdo, the weirdos, and that's what bothers me the most, and I fucking can't stand that shit, but you see it everywhere. And some of those comedians I do like. There's this one girl that's really funny, and I think she may possibly really be autistic, but it's just one girl. But all these other people, they're fucking not autistic, and there's like tons. You run across them. Maybe it's the algorithm. They keep sending me these videos, but I keep running across it. But anyway, those are the two things. The California skinny, rich, white, 25-year-old, 26-year-old skinny girl, just like a trophy girlfriend, trophy girl. This now the goth, this now the hippie, this now the punk and everything. Took over everything, pushed everyone to the margins of society, and the fakey, autistic, hot girl with the red hair or the blonde hair, this socially awkward when she's not socially awkward, because when people see her a mile away, they're like, think she's super hot and super beautiful and everything. And that's not to say that autistic people are not beautiful. A lot of autistic people are beautiful and everything. And that's not to say that they can't do comedy either, But I'm just saying it's just harder for us really to fit in. Because at the end of the day, we're always going to be socially awkward. At the end of the day, we're always going to feel like we don't belong. Even if we fucking become stand-up comedians and we're super funny. I'm a musician, I do shows, I play music all the time and stuff. And people come up to me all the time and love the way I sing and love the way I play my instrument. And the whole time I'm feeling like I did a bad job. And I'm feeling like people are like looking at me like I was weird or something, and it just doesn't go away, You never feel like you're supported by anyone and stuff. It's something that we just have to live with. You just have to live with it, and stuff. But anyhow, yeah. Yep. That's all I have to say.